So let me go ahead and explain something about the presets first. So there are two presets. We have the OBLIVION X and then the OBLIVION X2. So here's the OBLIVION X2, and the difference between these two presets is very minimal. They're pretty much mixed exactly the same way. The only thing different with the X2 is it adds a few more kit pieces, such as an extra kick. We have 3 kicks, and this is really just used for effects. It's tuned really low. We have an extra tom, again tuned really low, and it's got another cymbal, whereas with the OBLIVION X it has a tambourine. So I'll switch back over to the OBLIVION X preset. So let me quickly explain a few things about the OBLIVION X and X2 presets. You'll see that the kicks here, kick 1 and kick 2, are linked. That way I get some elements from this second kick in the kick 1. If you don't like it, of course, you can just mute it. And those are fed into a kick aux. You can see we have 3 snares linked for our snare here. So if I hit one snare, we hear all 3 of them. Now you don't have to keep it like this. I just like to have things set up for everything I think I'll need, and then I can take out what I don't later on. So for example, maybe you just want the snare 1, so I can mute the snare 2 and the piccolo. Sounds like that. And of course, if you want to completely pull these other snares out, you would want to come over here and trim out the ambient mics. And of course, you could also right click and just remove the drum, but I'll just pull those out, which sounds good on its own, but I really like this piccolo in my ambient channel. I think it sounds really good. And I use the brass snare as a layer for a different kind of attack and the snare sizzle. But you know, of course, you can mix however you want. Of course, I've got the snare aux set up, so these 3 snares will feed this aux, and we have a snare reverb channel. So you can simply dial in however much reverb you want using this one fader. If I were to mute that channel, you hear how dry that is. And of course, you can come to the effects and change that up however you want. And one thing about the effects, and this holds true for a lot of the effects I have set up, is I'll have a lot of effects loaded, but not all of them are on. Okay? You can turn them on, turn them off as you wish. I just like to have things like EQs loaded up, even if I'm not going to use them. That way they're there, and I can make my adjustments quickly without having to load something up. And of course, that holds true for our reverb. Maybe I don't want to use the reverb. I'd prefer to use the FX verb, so I can turn off that one and turn that one on, so on and so forth. Okay. Now, because of the size of this kit, obviously I'm using pieces that aren't included in OBLIVION. So this piccolo is from BFD3. All of the toms are from OBLIVION. Hi-hats from OBLIVION. Crash 1, Crash 2, Ride 1, and Cymbal 1 are from OBLIVION. And of course, our kicks are from OBLIVION, and this snare 3 is from OBLIVION as well. Everything else is from BFD3. So that way, if you don't have the other cymbal packs that I have, or snare packs that I have, I've used cymbals from the core library. So if you have BFD3 and you have OBLIVION, you'll have all of these kit pieces. If you don't have OBLIVION, you could still use these presets. You just need to change out the drums. You can see I have things sent to aux channels so I can control my cymbals with one fader, the overall level. I have an extra aux channel set up here. I have our drums channel. This is the actual master for the drums. And then if we look at the sends, you can see I have everything that needs to be sent. If you look down here, all that gets sent over to our parallel compression. So that's already set up, and you can adjust that to your heart's content. And of course, just simply use this fader here to dial in how much of that compressed sound you want in your total mix. And then the master would be the master for absolutely everything. You know, you may want to change some of the ways I've mixed some things. Like maybe you don't like the CQ. If you don't like it, just turn it off. If you don't like the compressor, turn it off, so on and so forth. You may want to come over to your model tab, your tech model tab, especially for things like the toms, and adjust the damping, because the amount of damping kind of relies on exactly what you're playing. Just set that up yourself. Same thing for the snare. Maybe you want more or less damping. Same thing for the kicks. Okay, so that's pretty much everything I need to say about the presets. Let's move on to the grooves. Over here to our grooves tab, you'll see there's 4 palettes, 221 grooves total. Just like the presets, you can download all of these for free. And you'll notice I have the 49G, 59G, so on and so forth. That G means groove. So 49 grooves in this palette, 59 grooves in this palette, 86 grooves here, and 27 grooves here. Now, everything you are going to hear has absolutely no post-processing done in Pro Tools. Everything is done completely within BFD3. I'm not adjusting anything in Pro Tools. I could, of course, set up my drum track down here, you know, by grabbing grooves, whatever, set up my drum track, and I could easily export out the audio from my drum track. I could do that, but for the sake of screen capping and recording and putting everything to video, it's just easier to do it in Pro Tools. But Pro Tools is not adding anything to the sound. Everything is coming strictly from BFD3. And just real quick, I'll mention one more thing. Now, if you have Oblivion, you probably know that the kit pieces are already pre-processed and set up for a good, standard, actually really great metal sound right from the get-go. So if you don't like the things I've done to it with the effects, it's a real simple fix in BFD3. Simply click this button right here that turns off all the effects. That way we're just hearing the processing that was already done to these kit pieces. If you want it back on, pow. Turn it back off. Turn it back on. Okay, so you have plenty of options with these two presets, and with BFD3, it's real easy. Of course, if you want to be more judicious in your turning effects on and off, you can turn separate things on and off up in the effects area. Okay, so I think that explains everything. Let's go ahead and hear some of these grooves played through the F Expansion BFD OBLIVION library.